Shannon, how are you?
I am so good. You broke me in. I'm good. I'm good. So good.
This is the key. Just have fun. Have
Ninja
fun and talk
Turtles,
some trash. God
video
bless it.
games. You know what I mean? Like,
It's the best.
awesome.
It's the best. Listen, you and I have been chatting for way too long. We finally got the cameras rolling. You were the executive producer of the Potato Movie.
Yeah.
And this is a really important thing for people to understand, as we just barely touched on. There's a story about Idaho that's being told. You moved here from LA in 2008.
Yes.
Right? And it sounds like you got the exact same experience and response that I did when I moved here in 22. People are like, you moving where?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you know what happens in Idaho?
Oh my God. Idaho, are you going to be safe?
My God. And the funny thing is, I lived 7 miles away from Oakland. You lived in LA. So it's like, do you know what happens in Oakland?
Do you know what we're living in right now?
Like, we have Compton and you're bagging on Idaho. But it goes to show that even at that time, the story of Idaho was being told, but it wasn't being told by Idaho.
Very rarely is Idaho's story told by Idaho. And I've learned this being here nearly 20 years. There is a beauty to Idaho's people. There's a quiet triumph. Quiet, I'm going to move through, let them think what they think. But what happens if you Google Idaho today? We trend for murder. Murders that aren't committed by Idahoans, usually, by the way. The major ones are people that came here and on our turf and did horrible things. We trend for our policies because people look at us and go, oh my God, that's a really red state. And politics are Bloods and Crips to me, by the way. So, right? I mean, yeah. But overall, Idahoans have this quiet triumph that they march forward. But people like us come in and we go, oh my gosh, there's something great here. And we're expressive. We want to help people hold on and share it. And Potato was that expression for me because I got so tired going around and hearing all of the outside talk about Idaho. I'm like, have you talked to Idahoans about where they live? The newbies and the folks that have generational legacy here. And usually it's no. So Idaho trends for me, okay, let's get the obvious out of the way. People are going to look at me and go, you're a Black woman in Idaho.
You are?
Right? Right? The first time they told me that, Matt, I'm like, oh dear God, I am? What? So they go to the R word, right? It's like, there's more to life than biology, number one. So, yeah. But there's this assumption when I go and travel and tell people I'm from Idaho, they're like, that racist state. That's the first thing they say. And I'm like, have you been? No.
Well, no, I never go to the racist state.
Right? So I'm like, ugh. So Idaho has such an incredible set of values and the way the people are. So moving from LA and Orange County area, I didn't understand community. And I don't mean to crap on the places that I came from, but I didn't understand the sense of community that exists here. It is beautiful. It is something that has to be protected. Idaho has given me so much. Just by stepping on the land. We landed in the airport. We come out and we're like, oh my God, this feels right. Feels right. So Potato was my response and my love song. It's like my Idaho love song to say, let's take this moment in time. This is evergreen, but it's also a time capsule project to say, this is who we are based on what our neighbors are saying. Let's make sure we come back together to the values that matter. Family, fun, freedom, adventure, community. And so far the film has been like, knock on wood, the folks that have seen it, man, Matt, the comments that I get, especially from multi-generation Idahoans. We were at the Roxy a couple weeks ago for their 86th birthday. Ha, go Roxy. And that's the home for Potato right now for the summer for screening in theaters because it's best on the big screen. But there was a gentleman that came up after and I could see it. He'd been crying and he said, we've been here, our farm, 107 years. We're going on 6th generation. Thank you. Thank you for representing Idaho, the true Idaho. Like I about cried. I tried to hold it together like, but those comments.
You're welcome, sir.
You know what I mean? Like, but the thing about being an outsider, and I think you'll appreciate this, I'm on the inside, but still on the outside because there's this thing where people are like, well, you don't have roots here and whatnot. Like I planted them. I had 2 babies here, home birth at that. So planted these seeds, right? There is such a beauty about being an outsider because we can see the things that are not as obvious to the people that have been here. So how do we elevate and share that? And Potato was my way to go, here, Idaho, But it's been fascinating because a lot of the online trolls and people, they're like, oh my God, you Californians. I mean, how'd you know? But you Californians coming in and trying to profiteer off Idaho. And I find that very interesting because there isn't a profiteering. It is a story that needs to be told, the stories that we don't hear. Idaho comes across as very polarized. And there are some factions of it, of course. But above that, the neighborliness, the way I describe Idaho is good neighbors with tall fences. It's like live and let live. You have a freedom here. As a homeschooling mom, trying to homeschool in California in the early 2000s, and as they started to switch legislation, like, oh my God, I have to start a private school. I have to do this and that. And what about this and that? And Idaho, I can come and I can design my own curriculum. I can do my own things. That's the type of freedom. I have the freedom to roam the lands. I have the freedom to go to these community events. I have the freedom to work from home, start a business, start a couple of businesses. There's a freedom, that pioneering spirit, but it gets overshadowed by the national conversation on outsiders coming in to report on Idaho. So I love what you're saying and what you're doing and helping bring the voice of the everyday Idahoans. That's what I say, the people, to the surface, because we don't get to hear that. And especially from the leaders that are making it happen every day, the good underground, not even underground, like these caring bridge builders that are doing this work for the right reasons, but people don't understand. They don't know. So potato is it's a way to just say thank you and a reminder of, look, y'all, we can let growth happen and change happen and sit back and do nothing, or we can take it by the horns and we can ride it like a Caldwell rodeo.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Shout out to Caldwell Rodeo coming
Man,
up.
I'm going to that
Gotta
this year.
go.
I missed it last year. Sebastian Griffin, who's the city councilman from
Yeah.
Nampa, he goes and like rides a horse at Caldwell Road. Yeah, and he invited me last year, but I was out of town, and this year, man, I'm going.
Gotta go.
I love that you described this as your love song to Idaho, and my grandfather wasn't born in America, right? Like my grandfather's from Mexico. He came over when he was like 16, and then shortly thereafter ended up going into World War II. And then my dad was born in Arizona as one of 6 kids, a big, Mexican family. I was born in San Francisco. And when people talk about multi-generation Idahoans, they're like, I'm 6th generation, or I'm 5th generation, or I'm 4th generation. I'm like, I never met anybody in California that was 4 generation deep, right? I mean, in the early 1900s, LA was like a village, right? Before movie and before oil, and then of course the aeronautic industry.
Yes.
Southern California did not have this like mass infrastructure. And it was this huge swelling as those things developed. And there is still a ton of oil in Southern California, but the land is too expensive to really get after it, right? But you have the aeronautical industry, you have, the movie industry, you have obviously tourism and things like that. It's like the Beach Boys of the 50s, right? Everybody wanted to go to Southern California.
Now I wish they would be in California.
Yeah, right.
It's like, dang. Yeah,
Well,
sorry.
they used to be. Now I don't know, right? Like it's a different thing there. But you, again, that's a relationship to an area when people say like, oh, I'm 4th and 5th generation, that again, I struggle to understand. Very much like you, I'm every day trying to understand what this state is, right? Like what has happened here? Why are the people the way they are?
What's in the water?
What's in the water, and like how do you relate to them?
Yeah.
Right. Like how do you and I try to relate to everybody, whether or not they're, 4th generation or, just got here. It's like, I'm a people person. I try to relate to people, but trying to understand their perspectives, and also trying to, in a very large way, present a resource that people can access. So it's like, hey man, I know you don't know anything about Idaho, because nobody knows anything about Idaho. You only know what either the national media is trying to tell you Idaho is, or, other people have said like, oh, we could go here and do whatever. Like the things I've learned have nothing to do with what people are told about this state.
Oh, tell me one of the biggest ahas, or what's something.
Dude, I had this. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
Okay. This is going to be really embarrassing because I was like really ignorant about Idaho.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I won't judge you.
Thank you.
Judge free zone.
Okay. So look, I didn't know about Idaho's fundamental industries. Okay. First off, I did not know that outdoors recreation, hunting, and fishing were like the second biggest industry in the entire state. I did not know that. I knew Idaho had a lot of rivers. That was it. Okay. I also didn't know anything about agriculture. I knew Idaho had agriculture, but I didn't know anything about it. So I had the executive director of the Idaho Wheat Commission on yesterday. Fantastic conversation. But embarrassingly, I told her, I said, look, as somebody coming from outside of ag, growing up in Northern California, state that shall not be named, I was always told, I saw movies by, Michael Pollan. I saw movies on Big Ag. I heard these horrible things like we're losing all our topsoil, Grapes of Wrath style, like we're losing all of these things. And we have more mechanized farming practices now, and they're tilling to death and they're killing the microbiomes, and we're all going to die. And it's all the farmer's fault. And I was like, damn, man, that's really, really bad. Or, like the ranchers are these rapacious, terrible people that abuse animals, all of these things, right? That's what you're told if you don't have a connection to a rancher or farmer. Because the second you sit down with a rancher or farmer, especially if they own land, right? You realize it would literally be, that story is akin to, I own my own house. I would like to pass my house off to my children and to my grandchildren. And because of that, I'm going to take a dump in the living room. Like, I'm going to tear this house I'm going to blow out the windows. I'm not going to replace the roof. I'm going to do it. And then I'll be like, haha, I'm passing this on. That's what it would be analogous to, because every farmer I've ever sat down with, especially the farmers that own their own land, are like, dude, this is something that my kids are going to get and their kids are going to get. And they were so concerned about the practices that they engaged in on a daily basis to make sure the earth and the asset that they owned, the fertility and workability of that earth, maintained the highest possible quality. Because that's what they needed to pass on, right? Like, if I have a house I'm passing on, I'm taking care of the flashing on the windows. That roof is getting repaired. Like, that lawn is going to be so nice. I'm going to, that's what you do. And that's what farmers, by and large, that I've experienced, and ranchers in the state are doing. And you don't know that. You're not, there's nowhere to understand that, right? Like the pragmatic nature of those people and the functionality and stretching resources and all of that is stuff you never find out. Yet you move to a state that's filled with ag and you just think they're these like large corporate, vultures. Yeah.
Well, that's because that's, to your point, that's what we see in stories. That's what we hear. And I spent a number of years in the local food system community. I had a couple years at Boise Co-op. It was my job to help them expand to Meridian. I was part of the team that helped open the Meridian location. Y'all welcome. But a big part of that was my love of food and learning where food comes from. And I love that you said farmer or rancher, because that's a big thing.
Yes.
You cannot confuse the farmers and ranchers. They're two different groups, but related. The tall fence analogy of good neighbors with tall fences, there is a fence that's up and it's protective a lot of times because the miscommunication and misrepresentation of what people are about. And then because you know how the media is, it's what's titillating, what's exciting, what's the latest victimhood story we can put out. So we get these fear baits and people are outraged and then they're shocked and we feed them more of this crap and they come back. But for the people that are taking care of the land and nurturing, that is like the number one Idaho value, by the way, in our studies that we've seen, taking care of the land. 99% of Idahoans agree that it's important to nurture and take care of the land. So that translates to our farmers, our ranchers. That takes to the backyard gardener like me right here. As a kid, I grew up just wanting to have my own like garden and farm and whatnot. I moved here only on a third of an acre, planted like 12 fruit trees, 16 boxes. It was overwhelming. I thought I was a whole HGTV episode. Like, sit your ass down.
What? Wait, what kind of box? Did you do like the corrugated steel boxes? Yeah.
Before they were like everywhere. You know what I mean? Like
trendsetter.
Oh
2008. Gosh. Watch out. I got the steel boxes with the wood corners. God bless you, woman. Right, oh my God. Keep going.
Wild. But I love that I'm
building those next year, by the way.
They're so helpful.
They're so great.
Because I had a vole issue, and voles in your
Yeah.
potatoes is creepy.
Yeah. Plus,
creepy.
like I did redwood boxes back in California, but like if you want a box of any size, you're in it hundreds of dollars in the
Right.
redwood, right? So I'm going Coriated steel this time.
See,
Yeah, anyway,
I love that.
yeah.
But I love that overall what I'm hearing you say is something that I don't always hear and see. The folks that come here, they don't take the time to actually question and learn. There's an assumption they carry, and then this is wrong. Why don't you have sidewalks? And why is this way? We must fix this. We must fix them. And for me, I stepped on this land and I'm like, yo, I got to get to know this place. Well, first I had to get to know me, because there's a you that's out there that lived where you lived, and particularly, you know, the California lifestyle. And to come here, it's like I equate it. So I love the Hawaii, Idaho. So Hawaii and Idaho are two of my favorite places. And what they have in common is the aloha spirit. There's such an aloha spirit to Idaho, just a little more fierceness, but slowing down. I had to even watch my tone and how I drive, because I just imagine a 405 freeway, and you mash.
Did you say the 405?
Right?
Don't say the here.
Right.
I learned that in the first year. They're like,
really
you don't say the, you just say the highway number. Highway 55.
And I'm like, but it's the. I mean, we don't even, bless us, we don't even have real freeways. You know what I mean? I love this place. This is my place. These are my people.
This is the first time I think on this entire show when I've got to talk to somebody about like these funny things. And it's like, I really wanted to, I'm sorry to interrupt. I really want to do a series called, and perhaps you could help me with it, but I really wanted to do a series called Your Neighbor from California.
Oh my gosh, I love that, because we get a misconception.
Oh my God.
Right?
Oh my God.
Usually I open up my speeches with like, yes, I'm from California. Don't judge me. Because there is this notion of who you are as a Californian, and that the attitude you may bring and who you are. And so I love that.
And then it's almost, what's really funny about that? I realized this probably in like year 2, that a lot of people get sucked into weird political movements as they're like getting jumped into a gang. They're like, I'm from California, don't judge me. They're like, are you? You're like, oh no, I'm one of the good ones. They're like, you are? You're like, yes, I'm a good one. I'm a good conservative. They're like, prove it. You're like, whatever I have to do. They're like, take these signs and go put all these signs up, and you got to show up I'll do it. Like, let me into the gang. And you got to go out and like put up your whatever sign. And, you got to like go onto Facebook and Nextdoor and be the keyboard warrior.
I'm exhausted by this. You see, that's why I say politics for me is kind of like Bloods and Crips, and people get it, but they don't get it. It's what side are you on? The scariest thing hearing walking down those streets is, hey, where are you from? And that's what politics has become. Which side are you on? Are you red? Are you blue? How red? Are you deep red? Are you this red? Are you? And I'm just like, y'all, how can we find the middle ground? I bless all of our elected officials and all of y'all in politics that make the decisions around policy and things. Sometimes my ass just ain't got the patience for it, because I'm just like, yo. And part of it is the culture I grew up in. Gangs controlled our blocks. We didn't have community like that. You had your home and you stayed to yourself. You minded your own business. We didn't grow up feeling like there's much we could do outside of take care of our own and insulate the best way we could. And coming here, boy, eyes wide open of, oh my God, you guys actually show up to your town halls and your community events. There's a preciousness and an innocence in some ways. I know that probably sounds weird, but there's still a preciousness and an innocence that hasn't touched Idaho. I did some work recently with the Idaho Criminal Justice Commission, and it helped open my eyes to the looming threat that we could be facing in our lifetime if we don't shore up our neighborliness, our community-ness, and seeing each other as humans again.
Help me understand that. Talk to me about
that. So when you think about the current state of the nation, right, Idaho doesn't typically trend for the violence that we see in other areas.
Sure.
We're still pretty wholesome. You don't do it, but you can leave your car doors unlocked. That's the whole thing about, I forgot to lock the front door. I can tell you the first time I forgot to lock my car door in the driveway, I about freaked out. I was like, oh my God, you left it up.
The car's not even going to be there.
And it's like, oh my gosh, these people, they're in their own lives. But when we think about the criminal elements of human trafficking, when we think about the cartels and drugs and opioids, I mean, there's some scary stuff out there. It doesn't fully touch us every day because there's still a bit of a distance. But with Oregon and, that whole movement to align with Idaho, I get what they're trying to do. But Like, whoa, because in Ontario, that place is already divided up by gangs and whatnot, and people don't know and understand. And you take into account marijuana and all those things. There is this, we're like squished between so much, and there's still an innocence and preservation here, but it's going to keep encroaching upon us. And if we don't figure out how to accept the growth and change while maintaining our traditional values, we may lose. So the infiltration of outside gang influence and cartel influence, it's here. It is. I don't think people want to be freaked out by it. It's by no means LA level. You know what I'm saying? Like LA level. What's that movie? End of Watch? Go watch that. And you're like,
End of Watch.
Whoa, right?
That movie was really rough.
Right. And what most people don't know, because I have a family that has the background in law enforcement and first responder, when they see the opening of that film, they're like, that is straight up LA cop. That's how it is. But those police officers there and how they live isn't how we have it here. There's still a wholesomeness. But we may lose that over the next few decades if we don't pay attention and keep the love, and people are like, you're so squishy. Compassion, forgiveness, and kindness, joy, fun, and love. That's what I try to represent and be about. And people are like, oh my gosh, it's so much easy for you. Like, look, I'm from LA. I was the Black girl in Compton. I was that girl in Watts. I understand. You know what I mean? Like, y'all bumping rap music, but I was in it. And I tell people, if you want to understand how I grew up, go watch Menace to Society. That's the environment I grew up in. Not Boys in the Hood. Menace to Society was the element of my whole environment. So I have that outsider perspective, and I can come here and go, I'm not Pollyanna. I know we got some issues. We got some issues, right? We got some things to fix, but I kind of laugh because I'm like, they're so fixable. There's people that have grudges. I was working with a community once, and they literally had a grudge here, Matt, that they were sitting there, and it was two groups. It was like arts versus the city, the commission. And they were like, well, this has been going on since 1980. I'm like, y'all, for context, I was born in 82. We sitting here 40 years later. What y'all doing? It's like the Hatfields and McCoys? Yeah. So I feel like the criminality aspect, if you give up any territory, and we talk about this in the film, so I'm quoting one of the folks in the film, if you give up any criminal territory, if you give your territory to any criminality, it's hard to get it back. Police can never get it back. Right. And I know that based on where I lived. And again, I'm so simple. I'm like, why can't we just have a cup of coffee, or better yet, some good food, get together and talk about what really matters here? How do we overcome our differences? And you explaining and sharing how things work, I think it's great. I mean, my career over 15 years, I've had the absolute honor of stomping all over Idaho. I won't say stomping because I don't stomp in people. No. I just walk a little heavy foot. But meeting the everyday Idahoans from all over and working with leaders. So I get both perspectives, and that's how I can produce the things that I do, because I feel like it's not my job to say that I represent them, but when I represent their voices, I'm trying to share back with them, like, this is what I heard you say. And Potato is that example. This is what I heard you say. These are all the feels. We address it. We talk about growth. We talk about change. We talk about community. We talk about media. We talk about it all, but with fun and showing you what Idaho is about. So I wish this movie was around when you first moved here, because you would have watched that like, yo, that's what I'm coming to right there. Right.
Or at least I would have had the opportunity to be like, okay, this is it. By the way, if I had seen it, I would have been more excited.
Hopefully.
Right.
But that's the danger, Matt, because people are like, you're going to bring more people here. I'm
okay.
Like, can we address that one? Can you tell me? I want to hear your thoughts on that.
First off,
because you took
I got a couple things that you hit on. The portrayal, the realistic portrayal, the sad realistic portrayal of LA back, Don't Be a Menace and those types of movies were always sandwiched between comedic representations like Friday, right? Or what was it? Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. And you had it, and it's like none of that stuff was actually funny, but it was funny at the same time.
It was funny
right?
to us.
It was funny.
Bit.
Here's one for I saw this thing the other day that was hilarious. And it was a scene out of Friday where Craig's dad is he's like, you always in the kitchen, always eating the pig feet. These are my grapes. You eat all my grapes, right? And he's going out front. And Craig's like, ugh. And the commentary, it was like this little meme. He was like, when I was a kid, I related to Craig. But now that I'm a parent, it's like Craig's dad had a point.
You know what I mean? Now you see it. You're like, oh, that's how that works. It's when you have kids, man, it comes full circle. You're like, dang, I get
right.
it now.
And there was I remember Friday, you know, obviously the culmination of that movie comes when he's like, you know, gets in the fight with Debo. And there was this, you know, articulation from the dad, right? Obviously that Ice Cube like reflects on. And I always saw that movie as this attempt through comedy and popularized, you know, media to be like, look, culturally, there's a problem here. Like we are missing the mark. Like, and this is kind of the older generation being like, what is happening? And that was needed, right? Like that's a real problem. And it's almost like you could only make that movie because like you either laughed or you cried.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Or you laugh, cried, and peed your pants a little.
Yeah,
Just a little squirt. Just a little. Like,
and you didn't tell anybody.
You didn't tell anybody.
You excused yourself.
Like, no, wait. But you didn't want to leave the movie. So you're like, oh, you're not going to pause it for me because, you know.
Yeah, right. In a very similar way, very, very different, but kind of similar. Like you see the portrayal in Good Will Hunting of people in like, you know, Philly that are just, they have nothing. It's like, you know, Ben Affleck. And then he's like, I'm going to be here, you know, doing demolition and you could get out, but you're not getting it. Like we have these problems in our communities. But again, in LA, it's just a difficult thing for people to understand that it's like, no, that is like kind of what people go through. I remember, so I grew up, my high school was actually worse than the Compton high schools, believe it or not. In Northern
I
California.
believe it. Northern Cal.
Yeah, like there are some areas that are just not great. And this one guy, I remember his name was Austin. Austin started messing around and had a couple little hustles. And these are kids in high school, right? Like sophomore and stuff. And I remember hearing the story. Austin's walking home and he's got some product in his pocket, weed or something. And this car drives by with this other kid at the high school. And Austin's savvy enough as like this 15-year-old drug dealer that he throws his product in a mailbox as he's walking by and like keeps walking down the street like nothing happened. Car turns around, comes, they like rough him up. These are kids that go to my high school, right? They like kind of beat him up, but they don't find his product because it's in the mailbox 4 houses down. And I remember hearing that. I'm like, dude, what? Where are we? Like, what is happening? And that was me as like a 16-year-old. I'm like, I got to get the hell out of here. Like, this is horrifying. Those things are real for people, right? You and I, before we moved here, we were Americans. We are Americans. We were Americans then. We're Americans now. And if you see an American in that environment, get the hell away from saying like, well, you weren't born in this state. Like we have such an overt love for America in this state, but only if you're an American from this state.
Ooh, that's deep.
Like, get the hell out of there. Like, there's no reason you need to be trapped inside playing video games as a teenager because you can't go outside. There's no reason kids in my high school, one, become drug dealers as teenagers and then are stashing stuff in mailboxes because they're about to get the crap beat out of them and robbed from the other guy that's in his English class, by the way. Right? Like, that's not something that we need. Like, real Idahoans are like, dude, get over here. Like, you're going to have to work. I'm not giving you anything, but like, goddamn, man, like, get in here.
Well, and that's the freedom to live, the freedom to just have a good life, to be able to come to a place where you work, you can buy a home, you know, the whole American dream thing. And for so many, it's not attainable. When I look at my lineage, it creeps me out when hearing from my mom, my dad, who has since passed, they will say things like, you're setting a standard and you're blazing trails in a way our lineage never had. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot of pressure, but that's cool. But at the same time, I'm like, that, come on, I'm a high functioning shit show. So to seriously, to think about me, like, don't put this Avatar savior stuff up on me. But
my God.
We haven't even talked about Avatar: The Last Airbender, by the way.
That was the worst. You took a beautiful movie and you just ruined it. You just ruined it.
Like, just stick with the Nickelodeon cartoon. Shout out to the Avatar: Last Airbender creators cartoon.
But that movie was like The Way of Water. Come on, man.
That whole thing, I won't name the director's name.
I won't name names.
I lost a little. I was like, what?
I saw my sister was living in Southern California, and we saw the first one down there at, who's the aviator?
Oh.
That guy, they have that Hughes. Yeah. They have that plaza down there with the big movie theater.
Yeah.
And we were down there and we went and saw it, like big screen.
I'm
and we
sorry.
were like, well, I flew home the next day, so
Yeah.
it was okay.
Right. Yeah, because just witnessing that in the theater where you're just like, do I walk out? I paid for this. Do I keep going? At least at home, you can.
Come on. I wanted to find a blue chick. I was even married. I was like, but honey, it's an alien. It doesn't count. With a tail.
Oh my God.
And a braid.
I'm gonna. I guess options.
She was so jacked. Her arms were wild. Like she still got that bow. My God. Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Bad.
No, I love it. There's so much of a misconception about, and I'm exploring this, constantly. There's a misconception about race, about place, and about who you are, where you come from, and what makes you, what is the word I'm going for here? Wow, usually I'm not stumped for words, but worthy. What makes you worthy to be here? Why would we let you in? Why? And it's just wild to me. The true heart of Idahoans is like, come on in, but don't expect me to change who I am because you want me to change who I am. There's a stubbornness, but there's this openness, this open-hearted nature of live and let live. Live and let live. Don't come and croak. My fence is tall. If your goat gets out, I won't get pissed off. Your goat keeps getting out, we might have a problem. Your goat then ate my stuff. Now, look.
I built these garden beds myself.
Right? Don't bring your goats. But no, now I can't unsee this, Matt. I can't unsee this.
I'm getting a fainting goat. I'm getting.
You have to take video of this.
I will. So my original plan when I moved recently to a hobby farm, just like an acre and a half, I was going to get a cow, a Highland cow named Bella.
Oh.
And I was going to do Bella's hair every week in a different way. I still may do it, but I found out, quite unfortunately, that the cow purchasing world has gone upside down. So it cost me like $2,500 if I could find one.
Yeah.
Whereas like 2 years ago, it would be like $300.
Right. That's a lot of commitment.
You said something earlier that I wanted to come back to before I forgot. You articulated you had to find out who you were.
Yes.
And have you ever seen the movie Shot Caller? No. It's a recent movie. No. It's about it.
I'm old, by the way. I think I'm vintaged in like the 90s and early 2000s.
No. But it's like it's like a serious movie, like a contemporary. We would watch, like my wife and I watched. You'd like it. But anyway, I can't remember who the actor is, but it's like good looking actor dude, and it starts out with him in jail, and you're kind of like, how's this guy in jail? Like what's going on? And he just gets out, right? So it's him getting out of jail and he gets released on probation. And then it goes through like 3 different time frames in the past. The first is he's a stockbroker, like doing this merger with this other company, real schwanky in this fancy restaurant. Then it's kind of like him in jail, and you're putting it all together. And essentially the story is that he was this really successful, money guy, and he goes out to celebrate this merger, has, just a little bit too much drink, is driving home. Someone hits him. Guy in the backseat dies. He gets charged with, manslaughter, and he blows in. It's like a 0.1 or something. So just over the legal limit. Can't get out of it. And then they sue like in civil court. The wife sues in civil court because the guy died. All these things. And then he slowly becomes incarcerated. He, ends up in this fight in jail and, gets additional time for that. All these different things. And throughout the movie, you watch him very believably transition from this successful stockbroker to this successful shot caller, who he becomes like the head of the like Aryan gang in the jail, right? And I thought about the movie for like 2 weeks because it was one of those things where like, okay, like what? Like, what do you want from me with this film? Like, I don't get it. Because like, first off, it just terrifies me of driving drunk, which I never do.
Well, and most people don't know that if you do have that drink and someone even hits you.
If you're driving drunk, it's a problem.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's exactly what happened in this film. So the point is, ultimately, the view of this person changes because their environment changes, but the person doesn't change. So this guy was like a type A, hyper successful, hard charging individual in the outside world. And as he transitioned into a different environment, he stayed that person. But instead of being like the coat and tie guy, he was like the big old thing, tattoos everywhere, jacked like crazy. It's a very good movie. And I think part of the difficulty with people moving here is like you have to find yourself and understand who you are now that you're in a different environment. When you're driving on the 405, gridlock traffic, white knuckling, people are driving 90 miles an hour, you function in a way that you can survive in that environment. Right? When you're dealing with gangbangers, you survive in that environment. When you're like fighting your school boards or the teachers union, or you're, trying to scrape by, you're making $200,000, you're barely scraping by. You survive in that environment. When you move here, you have to find yourself again in a different environment. It's like, slow down.
Absolutely.
Nobody's going to shoot you on the freeway.
Well, and most people don't equate the stressful nature that they grew up in because it's different now. Back in the day, we knew where the lions and tigers were. We avoided them. You're like, don't go over there. Today, we're constantly overstimulated. In community well-being, community health, there's a notion that your environment, your zip code will predict how long and how well you live more than anything else. Your environment is so key. And it took me a while to understand that because it's like, well, this is what it is. Moving here, it was so quiet. And I'm not talking just about the ghetto bird and all the things that would be out there. There was a quietness because the fear eased, the stress eased, because I could slow down, use I statements. But when I moved here, I took 2 years off. And as I mentioned, I became a whole HGTV fanatic. I'm going to do Venetian plaster and I'm going to grow up. I'm going to homeschool. I'm going to do it all.
Hey, how many different types of kale were you growing?
Yeah, 3. I knew it. Like there's lacinato kale, the dinosaur type. There's the curly green and the purple seed.
Did you do like baked kale with Parmesan on it and stuff?
Yes, you got to do the kale chips, grilled kale. I love food, man. But
keep going.
Just being able to do that and have the exploration to see the seasons. But as my first year unfolded, the quiet got so loud in my head. So I call it, they say the quarter life crisis, which didn't exist back then, but which is weird because I don't think most of us are going to live to 100. So this is like the third life crisis, whatever.
Well, keep eating that kale.
Right.
You'll be all right.
Well, I don't know. If you eat too much, it clogs your blood. All this crap.
That's actually true.
Right.
My wife and I literally over the course of 8 years, full on poisoned ourselves with kale and chard and spinach. We were doing these smoothies. It was terrible. I stay away from the stuff. My wife can't have any greens like that. Her skin turns on fire. It feels like a sunburn.
See?
Yeah.
Well, there's a chemical in there. It's a whole other thing.
The kale doesn't want to be. There's a reason why it was a garnish. There's a reason why. You ever cook ribeye and be like, this ribeye does not want me to eat it? Nope, never, never once. It's it is so happy, and you bite into kale, you're like, this kale is pissed. This kale does not want to be eaten. Yeah, no kidding, man. There's a reason it still exists because nobody wants to eat it.
Right. Well, it had its moment.
Yeah.
Now it's I don't even know what it is, but
God bless it.
So much.
It's back to the garnish and sizzler. Right. That's what it was.
Now you're taking me back. Sizzler.
Sizzler.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Remember the buffet,
My grandma lived in Fresno, so we would vacation in Fresno, which no one in the history of the world has ever said. But we would vacation in Fresno. My lovely Grandma Helen, who was this 1,000,000-year-old Mexican lady, and she had these cast iron pans that were full of oil that she hadn't changed for 3 months.
Right.
And she would make us egg tacos, right? So she would, with her bare hands, have this boiling oil, just flipping the tortillas, take the oil, pat it on her face she didn't care. And she had her Cristal hot sauce, right? And it's she would eat stuff that could light concrete on fire. Right. And but she would make us these egg tacos, and she had these knobby old fingers and stuff. So we go down there and visit with Grandma Helen, and she would take us to Sizzler. It was very kind. She also had the force because this was before any GPS, and we would go places, and I remember being somebody be like, okay, we'll go to this place. She's like, okay, where is it? And they're like, well, it's over on that street. She's like, okay. And we get in the car, and you'd realize 20 minutes later, she had no idea where that street was. She was wandering around Fresno until but she would find it.
Oh,
it's Grandma, did you know how to get it? She's like, no, but we found it.
Oh my God, I love it.
Hell?
It's driving based on landmarks.
Yeah.
That's how it was in LA. people would land. I mean, there's a big tree there. I'm like, what happens if they cut the tree though? You know,
Yeah,
but
it's over.
it's
I'm sorry, I interrupted you with the
no,
Fresno story.
I
What were you
love this.
saying?
We were just talking about finding yourself
Yes,
in
I'm
your
sorry.
environment.
Yeah.
No, you're good. I went through a mental health crisis of like, who am I? Where am I now? Why am I here? What do I want? Best thing ever. I say I had a breakdown and breakthrough because who I was in that environment, to your point about the film, I've always been a go-getter. I've always been a gregarious person. I couldn't be the full me there. I realized there was a part of me that went hidden because you can't be joyful and fun like that when you're a kid growing up in these environments because any of that's going to get snuffed out. It's okay to be angry. Oh, hell yeah, you can be angry. It's okay to invoke fear on others with that anger. It's not okay to be sad for too long. It's not okay to show your fear to other people. And you definitely can't be a snitch and tell because you get stitches. So the hood rules that I grew up with, and even though I was still a very kind and approachable person, there was an inside of me that was buried, and it was my joy. It was the things that, like the video games and playing. I mean, my Barbies with G.I. Joes and the kid side of me. So some people would probably be like, oh, girl, your traumas and you needed that. It was deeper for me. I'm big on indigenous culture. I'm big on how we go through rites of passage. And science says at 25 to 30, we're starting to get our full brain. So that's going to explain your voice, by the way. Hold on.
I'm hanging in.
Hold on. But also going into this new environment, I'm 25. My brain is adjusting and changing. I already had 2 kids by the time I was a veteran. My kids were already 7 and 4. But I had to find myself now because I could share a part of me. I can open my heart here. And that's the scariest thing you do, because if you start opening your heart, people want to take advantage of you. People want to crap on you or whatever. But Idaho gave me the space to explore walking with an open heart. It was deep, really deep, but also really simple because I'm like, I can just be me, which is funny because people will say, well, you moved from California, or you're Black, you're this, you're that. I'm like, I am so free to be who I am. One, because when you're not surrounded by family and that culture, you get to break away from it, look at it in a different way. I love my family. We, like all families, had our pluses and our minus, but the environment didn't let us flourish and be who we probably fully could have been as a full family. Plus, we went through early challenge and trauma by losing my brother. I lost my brother when I was 9. He was 8 years old. And that changes things. So the thing that I go back to those films that you mentioned, whether it's the seriousness of menace to society or the funniness of don't be a menace to society. Well, don't be a menace while drinking your juice in the hood. Gosh, the Wayans brothers.
They were ahead of their time, man.
Right? Jeez. Have you seen them recently? I don't pay attention, but I'm like, they just crack me up.
Like, I used to play Key and Peele skits in my SAT class because I would tell the students, I'm like, listen to me. We have a certain vision of what intelligence looks like. And here we're testing for this test, math, grammar rules, reading, the whole thing. I'm like, that's fine. And like, this is a noble pursuit. Like, I'm not putting any of this down, but do not confuse this with the myriad of different intelligences and geniuses that exist in the world. I play the substitute is always like a really funny one, right? It's like that, the ghetto substitute coming in. But the one that I thought like that really blew me away was the East versus West football selections. RJ, MJ, Edge. And all the different characters. I was like, okay, you could give all of us as much money as you want in the entire world. We would never come up with that. Yeah. And that's genius. And like, by the way, anybody who sees it, it works. So like they figured something out that was super novel and they nailed it.
Oh my God, every time. And part of that is the environment you grew up in. And there's this constant labeling that we do to other humans. Like, you're from here, you must be this way. You're this person, you must be. And I love that you were telling the students that and opening up their perspective. When I was a kid, I was in the GATE programs, which somebody recently was like, that was a CIA program. I'm like, what? What? The gifted and okay, all right. I'm not a TikToker or any of that, so I have no clue what's going on with the world. I live in Idaho.
Yeah, right.
I'm like,
oh my
I don't live it, but I had opportunities that others growing up right on my block or my street didn't get. I got to go places and visit. I got to spend a day with a lawyer because I wanted to be a lawyer. Oh my God, I love y'all lawyers, but hell no.
Right.
That was the best thing they did for me at 10. But the environment we grow up in shapes who we are. I'm grateful because part of the downside, I'll say, is I had to grow up fast. It was a product of my environment. So by 10, veteran of community war, totally. But I could carry that into where I am now. And it was the first 2 years that was like a reconciling of who I was, who I wanted to be, but where I was now. And it opened me up because I could go out and wave. I could talk to my neighbors. I could just be me. I went back to California because my family was still there. So I would go back and visit. And I'm 2 years into Idaho and I go back to California and I'm in the store, Vons. I'm in the store. And the lady's like, how are you? I'm like, I'm so good. How are you today? She's like, I'm okay. And I'm like, what's bringing you joy? She's like, you're not from around here, are you?
Oh,
and I was like, what? I was like, I was born and raised here. I mean, I did move away. And back then when they carded you for your credit, because they don't do that anymore.
yeah.
She's like, oh, I need to see your ID. And she, Idaho? I was like, yeah, I live in Idaho now. She's like, what? And she's like, is that why
But
you're...
what about those people in Idaho?
Always.
Always.
But then she's just this weird, but I got a little bit of a smile. You know how hard it is to get Californians to smile. And she's like, Idaho did you good. Like, because I could be more free. I could be more kind. But if you showed that kindness when I grew up, it was dangerous. So Idaho, I went through this thing of like, oh my God, these people are really kind and welcoming. They wave to you. They let you into traffic. They say hello. Like you drop your wallet, they'll give it back to you. Things like that. But the culture that I came from was so different. So there was a heartening. So when people move here now, I try to really tell them, one, figure out who you are now in this place. Idaho is different, but also not so much is different than us being humans. And to your point, we're all Americans. We all live in this country and we're on this land, but we start to divide by state. You know what I mean? Like one wild, because my daughter loves astrology, so she keeps me up to game on where the planets move. So apparently there's this thing with the planets right now and how these major planets are aligning. The last time that these planets sat in their spaces, here we go. American Revolution, Civil War, World War II. So the energies that are flowing through us from the woo-woo side of astrology says that we're in this really tense time of change. Are we going to meet it with war? We're seeing that outside of our country, but we're also seeing it within the country and within the states and with our own neighborhoods. People are warring with each other because they're forgetting that we're all after a good life.
Your story about finding joy, right? That I remember going through high school and having like a hard time. Like I was like a feral kid, right? I was the fourth of four kids, and my dad had moved out of state to Alaska, and I was living with my mom, and my older brother was still living at home, and you know that wasn't a great situation. And I remember going through the high school that I was going through, and your portrayal of like, hey, look, you had these things, like you had to do what you had to do to survive, right? Mm-hmm. And then going to when I made it in Cal, I was telling somebody just the other day, I went to Cal and we didn't own the home we were living in with my mom. So when I left, literally like the next week, my mom moved out of that house, moved in with my grandma, you know, mm-hmm. some ways away. I never went back home. Mm. So I never had that like home, like, hey, you can go home. Like you can go home and smell the turkey on Thanksgiving, right? Or like you go home for Christmas. Like I didn't have that. And I also didn't have that like, hey, Matt's back for like summer break. Like where are all the fun, like we're hanging out, like the old haunts, like seeing the friends, everybody was like, no, man, like I had to figure out a way to stay in Berkeley because I had no other place to go. Right. Yes. So
how old were you around that time?
That was 18, 19.
See, grew up like.
Yeah. And there was a hardness that kind of developed just through needing to kind of like survive the original experience. And then also figuring out at 18, it's like, listen, man, this is it. Like you're sinking and swimming and there's nobody's coming. Nobody cares. Like, this is it. And it really wasn't until, I met my wife and I was coming out of that I started having this inclination of joy, right? Again. And it was like, oh, like maybe we can just have fun in the world. Like maybe the world is fun. Yes. Like maybe there are fun things to do. I was telling somebody, we used to get coffees and we'd go to Pottery Barn and we'd sneak into the display case. And so we'd sit in the couches in the Pottery Barn, watching people walk by and drinking our coffee. We'd be there for like hours.
Oh my
it was
God.
like, it was ridiculous, right?
I
But like,
love that.
it's that kind of thing. It's like, let's just people watch. People watching is fun. Like, it brings you joy.
Yeah.
And I see, obviously I married her, right? And,
Good job.
and thank you. And it's great. I'm still married, same person, very pleased. And moving here, there was so much difficulty when I moved here. I remember getting here and like everything hurt. Like my soul hurt, my heart hurt, my back hurt, all of these things. And I remember waking up, the first week I was here, just realizing like, okay, it's taken a long time to get yourself into this situation. It's going to take a long time to get out,
Yes.
but like you got to start trying to get out, right? You got to get your body healthy again. You got to get your head healthy again.
Yes.
And I see a lot of people, to your point, that move here and are still acting in the same reactionary, defensive way that, you and I both experienced. And it doesn't matter about their financial position. Like there's so many people that are aggressive and reactionary and like ready to fight and ready to be up against the man and
Yes.
ready to go after the school board and ready to be getting screwed over or ready to be getting robbed. Right. I have a friend who's a realtor. Great guy. He was, great guy as far as realtors go. Oh, sorry guys. Anyway, he was in here. He's got a client who's interested in a house, and the client's out of state. Okay, whatever. And he goes by and takes a couple pictures of the house just to send to the guy who's interested in. And this dude who lives in here pulls in front of his truck sideways with his Polaris, gets out. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I'm taking a picture of the house." And he's like, "What, you got a license for that?" He's like, I don't need a license to take a picture of the house, sir." And this guy's like, he's like, you got a business card? He's like, "Who do you work for?" He's like, I'm self-employed, sir. Like, I don't, and he gets into,
Wow.
and my friend sends me a dash cam video of this entire exchange. He's like, "Do you know this guy?" Like, I was literally just taking it. And that's like, that guy happens to be from Southern California.
I was going to say that.
He's got,
sound
and he's super ready to be getting screwed over by someone. So here my buddy's here just engaging in normal commerce. And he's like, "What are you doing?" Teed up, ready to go. And it's that kind of thing. It's like, hang on. You got to find out who you are in this environment.
Yes.
Because there's no reason to be that person here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the wounds. There's so many wounds that we carry. And I know there's all this talk about trauma, not disrespecting it, but when you start talking trauma, you talk clinical, you talk healthcare. I'm talking wounds from where you grew up, how you grew up, and the hardening, the callousing that you go through and looking at other humans. It's like, especially with law enforcement and those first responders, your head's always on a swivel. You're always looking. So we kind of had that in California growing up, and what's going to happen next. But coming here, there's a healing to this land. There is such a healing that I see happen for people if they're open to it. Right. But being open to exploring and learning about others. I've seen some people, especially over the last 5 to 7 years, people moving here, there's this, I got to come in and I got to take control and I got to do it so no one else is. It took me 15 to 17 years to finally go, "Oh, okay, I can help with this film." You know what I mean? Like, I didn't come at this and go, "Let me just do this now." I mean, because to me, that's sacred space. When you start sharing another person's heart and their words and how are you going to use their image. I mean, people were like, "What is this for? Is this a political thing? How are you going to?" Like, no.
Is this a political thing?
What is this? And I'm like, no. It's coming from a mom's heart. It is coming from the place of, it's funny because there's this tension, I'm sure you've experienced, of those old school, I'm a multi-generational Idahoan, this is where I am, and you don't have roots here. And I'm like, at the simplest notion, you've been in the same place your entire life. You've been in this state, so you've seen it change, and you have a steadfastness. But I'm coming in as an outsider with a new perspective and maybe a little bit of twang and a little different, but I respect you. Are you going to exclude me because I didn't grow up here? Or are you going to embrace the newness that I may bring in that perspective while I'm respecting you? But if I'm wounded, I can't have that conversation. If I'm wounded, I'm looking around looking for the next person. It's going from being highly skeptical to paranoia. And there is a paranoia that people are coming, "Who are you? And what is this? And who's the..."
Is this a political film?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there it is.
Right? Like, oh, can we need to talk after this? Maybe we need some tea, not coffee, maybe some tea. But there is this hyped up energy because people are scared. They think they're losing something. And in some ways they are. But what is it? So if you take the time and find out who you are, those are deep questions. I call them the 4 ancient questions. Who am I? Where am I from? Why am I here? What do I want? People go to what do I want? They jump with what do I want? But they haven't cleaned their soul enough, or even their mind and heart especially, to go back to who am I? Who am I now? Who am I in this environment? What is this environment? Where am I at? Like, who are these people? So people watching, I mean, and every region of Idaho is different, by the way. There's so many people that are multi-generational, but all they know is Boise or the Treasure Valley, and they don't get out to other parts of Idaho. So you'll hear it and see it. People will claim their city like their hood. I'm from Boise. I'm from Eagle. I'm from Neville. You know what I mean? Like, I'm from that. I'm like, what about Idaho? And I've traveled enough where my small rural folks, small city rural folks would be like, no Boiseification here. Don't bring the great state of Ada over here.
The great state of Ada.
You haven't heard that one?
No, I
Great
haven't.
state of Ada.
God, it's so funny. It is. I've actually had the very good fortune to be traveling. I have not really made it up north yet.
What? That's my favorite part of the state. It's so beautiful.
I got a lot of faults. That's one of them.
I won't judge
That's
you.
one of them.
Matt, I will not judge you.
I got a trip coming up. It's going to be great. I'm not going to tell you, but it's going to be great.
Good.
But I have had the good fortune of driving, even this summer. I've been out to Idaho Falls like 4 times in the last as many months. And
that's a flat drive. It's just nothing.
But okay.
It's beautiful.
If you go
when
through
you get
Mountain
there.
Home, it's not flat. It's 9 extra minutes, and you get the most. You go through Craters of the Moon. You go past the tank. You go like the whole bit, right?
Yes.
You lose reception, so you get off your phone,
which is
right?
great.
It's great. It's great, and you have so many cool things in this state, and like it's so different. The new as in like this month, state PTA president actually lives out in Idaho Falls, and I was telling her that for this upcoming November election, I'm going to try to interview everybody in the entire Treasure Valley. So every mayoral, city council, school board, everybody. Kuna, Middleton, Caldwell, all the, and she wants,
bless you,
dude, it's going to be a lot, but she's trying to get me to come up and do it for Idaho Falls too. And I'm like, yeah, I want to know. I want to understand Idaho Falls because like I've been here and it's great and it's super cool. And I've been to some great restaurants. We did the water polo tournament up in Rigby, Rigby Lake. Yeah, it's fantastic. And all of these things, it's like, yeah, let's do that. Now it's going to be crazy because you're talking like 20 interviews in 3 days or something. But
you got this.
But helping connect people. This is the thing. Somebody told me there's a gal named Betsy Russell. Are you familiar?
It sounds familiar. Yes.
Okay. So Betsy Russell, apparently for the last like several decades, whatever, was the person who transmitted the Idaho political legislation to the state. And she would go back and forth from house to house. She would, write fantastic articles. She's not interested in getting coffee with me, unfortunately. Maybe one day. Holler at me, Betsy Russell. Anyway, she did all these things. And she retired, I think, in 23. Okay, so I kind of, like building up the podcast. And as I get bigger and bigger and bigger, people are like, everybody asked, do you know Betsy Russell? No, I've never met her. Like, yes or no. Because they said that she unified the state. She helped people up in the Panhandle feel like they were connected. People in East Idaho feel connected because, again, the great state of Ada, things that are happening here, they're disconnected from it. And bringing that together in a hub. So it's like if you live in Ada County, you might be able to understand now what's happening in Idaho Falls. How great is that? Or like maybe 1 year in the future, I can make it up to Kootenai County and do something similar where it's like, okay, I'll be here for a week. Let's line up everyone. And the state can understand itself better because like, oh, okay, great. Like these are the problems that they're experiencing these problems or they're resolving these problems or like what a great perspective on growth that mayor has, like those are things that just further help us to preserve and transmit what we are in our own words instead of allowing who knows?
I don't know. AI.
AI, or anybody who wants to make some ridiculous sensationalistic
Yes.
news media piece and throw all of Idaho under the bus.
Yes, it's everyone. When one thing goes wrong, it's all of Idaho. And that one sort of outlier becomes everything that Idaho's known for. And I choose to focus on joy, fun, and love, compassion, forgiveness, and kindness, because that's like the healing work. I'm not saying that we don't need to focus on the bad that's happening. We have plenty of people that are. We probably need more. But based on my environment where I grew up, I cannot combat negative with negative. I'm not going to meet fear with fear, anger with anger. I'm not going to walk up to no fool on the street and try to love them if they're going crazy, but I can have compassion and understand our shared human experience. But that doesn't always translate across the state, because people get myopic and they're like, I'm over here in this smaller community. What those big tech Boiseans are doing over there, that ain't flying over here. But when you go sit down and you talk to them over a cup of tea, coffee, or beer, whatever, they're just humans like you and I. And there's a fear that their traditions or what they're holding on to will be taken away. Will my land be well, I have to sell my land as a farmer to a developer because that's the only way I can pass this down, because it's not as productive and lucrative for me anymore.
Right.
Those are the real conversations. Or the mom that is like, yes, I want to put my kids in school, but I want to take pre-K on, or the first couple of years myself, but I can't do that because cost of living. Oh my God. Just homes. When I got here, wild, right? You could still get a home for like 120,000 or maybe even 90 grand.
Ugh.
Wild. And now it is so outrageous. Minimum wage federally is still $7.25. I saw something where you need to make $27 to $30 an hour just to survive here. And depending on what industry you're in, that's why people kind of flock inward. That's why we have all the traffic that we have on the 84 now, because, man, when I was here, it was like a couple lanes. Eagle was like side farms up and down,
Yeah,
Eagle Road.
I've heard.
So it's just wild to see how much has changed. And that change gets attached to us Californians and those that are coming here, because they say, well, you're
former Californians.
There you go. So true. I had someone argue with me. They were like, you're not from Idaho. You're from California. I'm like, but my house, I live in Idaho.
Yeah, I'm also from America. You want to just call me an American?
And my mama's uterus. Do I need to claim that?
Janet doesn't want me talking about her.
It's just wild to me that we can let place and ideologies around politics and gender and race and all these things divide us from the fabric of what really matters. My husband and I are on our 28th year together.
Oh my God.
We new levels of love, and he is so patient with me at times. I mean, it takes a strong person to deal with this over here, but just reflecting on what truly matters, because, we're still young, but we also are grandparents because we started out young. We've been together since we were 15 years old, but the evolution of our family life coming from California, LA, Orange County to Idaho, I think it saved my family. It saved my marriage. Being here opened up something, and the ease in which I can start to walk and de-stress and find that joy and that compassion. Man, look how much volunteerism Idaho puts out, how philanthropic. It's not just the dollars that you share. People share their time. People don't have, mostly there's not this negative agenda, but to the point of what you witnessed or your friend went through with this burly neighbor coming over, it's like, but is that the Idaho we're going to become? That's what concerns me. I don't want to lose the neighborliness. We're two strangers right now having a conversation. Man, can you imagine trying to do this back where you lived? That'd be wild.
I tried.
See, you
I tried.
You cray. I bless you.
Listen to me. When you were talking about joy, you were talking about opening yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
And I have expressed in an imperfect manner at times that people that move here a lot of times have a sense of betrayal. And it's very hard for people to understand how and why. They're like, what do you mean you got betrayed? Like, what do you mean? And at least for me, there was a real concerted public effort to open up and have an honest conversation with the community on like my original podcast, which was not high quality and I was not good at it. But, and then even in private, especially, and the level of betrayal where you're like, hang on. I literally just opened up and it's knives out.
Yes.
And people are like, let's get him.
Uzis.
Yeah. Oh, let's go. And and things that you're like, wait, how is it that like de facto I'm just racist because I live here? They're like, well, you're white. I'm like, first off, I'm Mexican. Second, like, and like I could go down all of these things, but it's like it doesn't even matter. No. None of it mattered because the community had determined that everybody that lived in the community was just de facto racist. I'm like, I do not participate in this. I am not accepting your characterization of me because of my zip code, for Christ's sake. Like, what does that have to do with anything? And then it's this huge defense of the position and a huge unending articulation of like, no, you have to be racist because of brrr. And it's like, that has nothing to do with racism. Racism is you think differently of somebody because of their race. Everything you just said is nonsensical.
Well, they've changed the wording, right? They've changed the word, which is just wild to me because I grew up LA. I remember 92.3 The Beat. It was Theo. Everyone thought he was black, but he was Asian. Blew everyone's mind because he sounded like a black dude.
Was he Blasian or just straight up Asian?
I think he was straight Asian, right? But he would say this thing like no color lines. And what I grew up with, I grew up Care Bear generation. My friends were all multicultural, multiracial. I could hang with all the kids, from the goth kids to the skateboard to my cholas and everyone. Sure. And it's interesting because like today, the categorizations, I went through a similar but different experience just in 2020, where people would try to tell me my lived experience and who I am just because I'm black. Oh, you're effed because you're black in Idaho. Like, what? What?
Oh people actually said that to you?
Yeah, I've had the things that I've had said to me, and usually it came back to some outside narrative or something that they learned, and how hard it was going to be for me and my children. I'm like, well, my children are Bloexican. They're black, white, and Mexican. You know what I mean? They're Bloexican. You know what I mean? Like, and above all that, they are humans. They are humans, and just the labeling we put, just on colors of skin or gender or this and that. I want to get back to a space where we can meet and see each other just as human first. And I look like, what's the asshole factor here? That's what I come by. Like, where is it? What's going on? I try not to limit people based on biology and things that you can't change. And I love that you put them in check. Like, actually, I'm Mexican.
Yeah.
So.
But it's like, you know what this girl said? This Caucasian girl from Livermore was like, yeah, but you're white passing.
Oh,
I was like,
gosh.
I'm white passing. And I got into this big argument. Towards the end, I was not in a good headspace, and I was really getting upset about all these things because I'm raising 3 boys, and they're big, and 2 of them have a little bit, like, I get really dark, and not as dark as you, but I get like good brown Mexican skin in the summer. And so 2 of my boys are like that. One is very fair skin. My wife is Irish and Italian, and she's like very fair skin, right? And I was just hearing more and more of the community sentiment around how problematic white people are, and especially males, and especially straight males, and especially like, there's a word that emphasized that you weren't handicapped, like handicapable or something.
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah. Like it was essentially like you have both your legs, both your hands. It's like all of these things, right? Because they were identifying like, okay, if you had this one downside, like you would get a pass because now you're not part of the oppressive group. But like the pinnacle of the oppressive group was a Caucasian, large, straight male, right?
Christian,
yeah, like all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So I started getting more and more anxious around this. I'm like, this is really bad, right? Yeah. So this girl came in, and I made a joke about unpacking my white privilege because, of course, the joke is that I'm not white. And she didn't know. She's like, okay, but you really should. I'm like, I really should what? She was like, you should really unpack your privilege.
I was like, my white privilege, by the way. It was hard.
Have your kids, though?
Not yet. I did it for them.
There you go. And then you put it through the wash, put it in their closets. I unpacked everything. But I was like, okay, well, that's hilarious because I'm not even white. And she was like, yeah, but you're white passing. I'm like, what are you saying? And we got into this argument because she started putting down essentially this kid in my class, Marcus, who's Italian. She's like, well, he inherently has these thoughts. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, get the hell out. You don't know anything about Marcus. Like, this is wild. Like, what you're doing is racism because you're literally looking at Marcus and saying, he is this person. He thinks this way. He must believe this because of the color of his skin. I was like, that's racism straight up. And like, then I realized I was yelling at a 16-year-old. I was like, calm yourself down. It was really bad. So I tried to like gracefully exit the conversation, but I was
Bring
like,
you back to joy.
yeah, like I was like, I got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
You know,
See?
because like that's crazy. And this is what that kid deeply believed. And then I really, throughout the course of the class, the SAT class, over the next like 2 months, I really tried to understand how she came to this position and like, how have you arrived here?
You
Right?
know
Like,
how, right? You know how, right? It's victimhood. And when I say victimhood, I'm talking about the crappy place we fall into when life doesn't go our way. There's a gateway to that: fear, anger, disgust, sadness, and schadenfreude, which means deriving joy off another's misery. And the fear takes over our mind. I have an acronym, FUCD. I won't say it because it sounds like a swear word. So fear, uncertainty, chaos, and division. We got so far out of whack that we started labeling people because of their race, white males with privilege, which is wild to me, to reduce one's identity down to those three things. It's just wild. And this proliferation of those in power that need to be taken down. We swung so far one way that now we're starting to have to come back, but we're swinging in some ways, depending on where you are, to the other extreme. Racism is racism. What we grew up with, where it meant superior, you think you're superior or another race is inferior, was replaced with this whole notion of if you are white, you are automatically racist, you have this privilege. But to reduce it even further to the insanity of, well, because you look a certain way, you have a certain privilege. And there's privilege and advantage and all of this. I bring it back to victimhood. When people don't feel good about being themselves, they can't be respectful and show up for other people and make space for who they are in their stories. They label, they point the finger, and all of these things. We both have been through it in similar but different ways. And I'm just at this point in my life. Maybe it's because I'm a grandma. I don't know.
No,
just wild. Right? Isn't that wild?
I got a 13-year-old. I'm older than you and you're grandmama.
Isn't that wild? It's so fun.
Could I ask you something?
Anything.
Very.
Don't mean I won't answer. But
yeah, okay.
No,
don't.
All good. I'm joking.
You've been with your husband since you were 15.
Yeah.
I generally, there's an assumption I made about human development that it's like, all right, you're a monkey when you're like in your teens and like you get out and then like you're kind of the person. But I heard this, piece of content recently that was like, listen, I've been married 6 times. It's just been to the same person because the person has changed 6 times. And very thankfully, each of the 6 times, both of us still liked each other. And you've been with your person for almost 30 years.
That's my ride or die.
And like, how many different iterations of personhood have
12.
you guys gone? 12?
12. 6, that's a lie. Like 12. This is what I'll say, and I think my husband will agree with me. We're still the same. And we fossilized in a beautiful way at like 17 when we finally had our freedom, 18, and finally meaning we could drive and we had jobs, we could get out. So there's a core fun part of us that will always be those reckless, my mom calls us Bonnie and Clyde, are just fun teen years. But as we started to grow and develop and change in our interest and whatnot, we grew apart and we rode single. I rode single momhood for about 16 months total. And he's like, of course you would calculate down to the month. I'm like, I need to know these. I love research. So I'm my own research case. But we've been through so many iterations of who we are, from, again, the wounds that maybe we didn't heal and didn't know we needed to heal, to the interests that we had. And sometimes people think when you share a life, you're walking and that whole notion like you complete me and that's my other half. Man, that ain't my half. He's a whole other person and I'm a whole person, but we share a life. And instead of walking a parallel path, sometimes it's like an hourglass. You go out and you come in. There's been so many different versions of who we showed up as, but the core of who we are and the heart was always there, is always there. It can be difficult, especially when you add kids to the mix. How we survived from being 15-year-old, infatuated, but loving, feeling like we're soulmates, to becoming parents at 18 and again at 21. And navigating going from, for me in particular, from high rates of poverty to now we're living in Newport Beach. Now he's like making way more money in sales and the things that he liked, maybe not the things I like. I wanted to be a mom and raise the kids. And he's like, let's just go fun and race fast cars. The things this man has put me through. things this man has put me through. But just above all,
my gosh.
it's the heart connection and relationships in particular. It takes work. I find the new generation I feel like an elder right now, but they're so ready to quit. So ready to quit because it's this, no, you have to like everything I like or you have to give me everything I do. Love with conditions will always fail. But that doesn't mean you condone being disrespected or things like that. Right. We got to a really cool shared place where we opened up new levels of our heart with one another. We can talk about anything. Don't mean we're going to talk about everything because some things are best left between you and God. But navigating, especially moving to a new state with no support system. No support system. In some ways, we have to find who we were and then find out individually, but then find out who we are together. So we've learned a lot. And it's funny because, being younger, and I tell people I have a grandkid, they automatically think my husband's like 20 years older. Or when they find out I have 2 sets of children, 24, 21, 12, 7, they're like, oh, multiple baby daddy? No.
No.
Same guy, actually. So funny.
I'm from Idaho.
Right? And it's funny moving to Idaho, like being in LA, they're like, you're a teen mom. This is so bad. Idaho's like, oh, man.
It's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right.
You got this. You should have
Mormon?
4 babies.
No,
right?
actually.
Like,
but
no, actually, no. But
they're like, oh, well, good for you anyway.
Right? But it's the best and biggest test being in a relationship that long because, man, I mean, the best way that we think about it, do you want to wake up next to this person for the rest of your life? And we're like, yeah, what adventure are we going to be on? But there's days we're like, oh my God, for the moment, like I'm divorced from you. No, don't talk to me right now.
Do you ever like divorce him in your head? Quietly?
Oh, no, not in my head. We've done it. Like, I'm like, we're divorced right now. Totally.
Don't talk to me.
Don't talk to me.
You get full visitation of the kids. Don't talk to me. I'm gone.
Yeah, actually, you can take them.
I don't care where you go. Get in your car. Go to your imaginary apartment. I don't care what you do. Get the hell out of here.
But then it's so good. It's so healthy. Maybe it's just that some psychological person's gonna. But we know ourselves, therefore we can know each other, and it's sacred. And my kids probably look at us like we're insane. My daughter's just like, sometimes you people, because we're still goofy kids at heart. It's great. It's How long have you and your wife been together?
So we got together when I think she was 21 and I was 22. So like at the end of college. Yeah. See? Yeah. And we grew, very much like grew up together, right? Like not through my teen years, and God bless it that you didn't know me then. And not through the beginning of college, because I had a very rough time in the beginning of college. And, she met me when I was on the upswing, when I was like, okay, bear down. Like, this is it. Yeah. It's do or die, man. And I became that person, and she met me in that time frame. And, she helped me find happiness. And I was so cranky, and like I laugh about this, and it's funny talking to you about this because it's kind of like, oh, was that it? Because some of my friends were just like lighthearted. They're like, it's Tuesday, it's noon, let's get a drink. And I'd be like, oh, that's dumb. And like, yeah, it was dumb, but when you're like 21, whatever, it's like, okay, what's the end of the world? You get a drink at Tuesday at noon, like it's no. But I had such a hard time letting down my guard to enjoy just something dumb. Like, let's go swim in the pool. Like, I don't have a swimsuit. Well, let's swim in your underwear. I'm not swimming. Like, it's like, who cares, man? Yeah. Like, just calm it down. And I didn't find a way out of that to like me letting my hair down, so to speak, until I like deeply engaged in this relationship with her. I'm like, yeah, why don't we just get a burger? Like, that sounds great. Like, you got a good burger? Dude, this is exactly what I'm talking about. One night, I remember this was like deep into like, hey, we could just have fun. Like, we can work hard and have fun. We were sitting around. It's like 7:30. She was still, she was a D1 athlete. She was on the water polo team, and I was on the rowing team. I was done, but I was still doing a lot of sport. And so like we could burn off anything, right? Because we're like burning 6,000 calories. And I was like, you know what I want tonight? And it's like we're hanging out in our little 1-bedroom looking at a fish tank. I was like, you know what I want? I want some of those home run pies. And she was like, oh, like the little ones? I was like, yeah, let's go get some. She's like, let's get all of them. I was like, yeah. We go to Safeway on Shattuck. We drive to Safeway. We roll in, and I kid you not, we bought like 30 of them.
Oh my
15
God.
each, because we got to say, we was like, well, if I really like the lemon, I'm going to want all the lemon. So you get a lemon and you try. We bought all of them.
Even
and
the
we
cherry
went home,
ones
even the cherry, even the cherry. We had the lemon, we had the cream, we had the chocolate. Not a big fan of that chocolate
me neither.
stuff, but
No.
the apple, because like all, and we bought, and we went home, and it was like, we did everything you're not supposed to do, and it was like, okay, this is really fun though, right? Like we could just have fun, and like, yeah, it was ingrained in us to work hard. But there was no place in my life or like in my soul for that fun before that.
Yeah.
Another night we found out this is my claim to fame. I have a claim to fame. One night I was like, you know what I want for dinner? She's like, what? She was like, name. I was like, no, I want to go to the store. I want to get French bread and I just want to dip it in barbecue sauce until I'm full. So we go to the store, Safeway on Shattuck, and we get like multiple loaves of semi-Freddy's bread, right? And then I was like, I want the barbecue sauce with the highest sugar concentration available. And so we spent 15 minutes in the barbecue sauce aisle, scouring, looking all over, literally flipping every bottle like, oh, 12 grams. She's like, hey, I got a 15 gram. I was like, okay, let's see if there's 16. We find it's like 18 grams per serving all the way at the bottom. You know what it was? Sweet Baby Ray's. It was literally the year Sweet Baby. It was bottom shelf in Safeway.
Gosh.
And then 2 years later, it's in Costco. Yeah. And now it's everywhere. But I found it when it was on the bottom and we went home, dumped out the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
But it's like I needed somebody to help me find that.
She opened your heart valve. She opened the healing valve of your heart. When we come from these hardened environments where there is betrayal and hurt and you have to protect yourself, you have to clam up, because if you let any crack show, man, predators and scavengers and manipulators will get in and they will fester. And that's how you get the movie that you talked about, where you go from this environment of stockbroker, but now you're the leader of the Aryan nations. Because to your point with the film Laid Bare is the core attributes of who you are as a person are there. What environment are you in? And you found someone to share love with. And that's so sacred and special. And a big part of what I get concerned about in our culture is we're losing that. My husband is my best friend. I can say that through and through. It's not for everyone, but I can come, we can joke, I can be the most fierce version of me, and he shows up with me. He is the one that can hold me accountable to get out, but we can still have our fun, silly connections. But the healing valve of your heart opening up in an intimate relationship will then dip you into healing those wounds. And they're typically our parental wounds, which ties back to our cosmic and just God-driven wounds that we have. But these are all the things that come after our brain develops and we have space and we make decisions that benefit us so we can explore that. Idaho, I love Idaho because it gave me that. And some people are like, Idaho, I'm like, it's deep, it's deeper. And like the film, it's more than just potato. It's more than just Idaho. The land, the people, the culture, the ability to be free and open up. And your relationship with your wife started that for you. And how cool that you can keep exploring that. I mean, you moved to a whole new state. I know what that's like. Yeah. You're going to just drop it and go, I'm out. And to navigate that, I know so many couples that came even up here to Idaho to explore, but they couldn't get aligned. They didn't trust each other enough. They didn't walk with the truth of who they were enough to say, we're going to go to this whole new place and start over, especially if you don't know anyone. Boy, that will test you. So I would not be the woman, the mother, of course, the mother who I am today without my husband and without that relationship. But people that haven't rode it for more than 5 to 10 years don't even get it. There's a whole new level when you've known someone for 2 decades. There's a whole new level. So I applaud you and your wife for navigating this. And we never know where life is going to take us, but the sacredness of having that level of trusted relationship, man, you can't just wake up one day and be like, I've been with this person for 20 years, Yeah. It's deep. So she cracked open your healing valve, my friend. You know what? When she gets home, you need to give her a hug and you need to say, I love you. You need to look her in her eyes. You hug her heart to heart. You just stand there and breathe with each other. And don't say anything of just love and just sharing that space. And then just, I love you. And she's going to be like, what you want? Yeah. What do you want? But
yeah, you know what we're doing tonight?
What are you gonna
We
do?
got a Blackstone this morning. That flat cast iron cooktop.
Yeah.
And we're doing smash burgers.
Dude.
It's gonna be awesome.
See,
I
make
can't
it
wait.
the most epic. Think back to the pies and Sweet Baby Ray's.
Dude,
and
we still, you know what? We still do stuff like that.
see,
Shannon, I got to get home for burgers.
You do.
I was ill prepared for you today.
I was so fun. This is fun. Oh my God.
Please come back, and just even things we weren't, we're talking about beforehand, but I have so many questions. Thank you for making this film.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
Thank you for.
Have you seen it yet? Have you had a chance? Because you've been busy.
I've been busy. No, I know. And I was actually telling somebody, I was like, the trailer just gives me goosebumps every time I watch. Like, I can't, it's a lot, but I've been out of town the whole thing. I'm watching it tonight with my wife.
So that's when we'll follow up. You watch it, and then we'll come back and circle around. We have so much more to discuss.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you for what you're doing. And we got some work to do.